Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. Good evening, everyone, and good evening to you, May. Welcome to our first meet and greet alumni roundtable event hosted by the Department of Educational Studies at Goldsmiths. So we're really thrilled to have you join us as we discuss the exciting opportunities available to prospective students looking to undertake a BA education degree here at Goldsmiths. So with me today is a former student and alumni of the BA education program, May Hayden. Thank you, May, for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So today's event will involve a conversation with May and I for about 15 minutes. I'll ask May some questions about her experiences and perspectives of the BA program at Goldsmiths. And then you'll be able to follow this conversation and listen to this recording at your leisure and sort of think about why Goldsmiths might be a good fit for your educational aspirations. So welcome, and let's begin this conversation. So my first question to you, May, is why did you sort of choose Goldsmiths as the university where you would do your undergraduate degree?
Okay, so hello everyone, by the way. Pleasure to be here, like I said. Why I chose Goldsmiths, a very good question. Totally honest, I took a couple of years out before going to university. So I didn't go straight to university straight from formal education, which meant that I kind of had a bit of time to figure out what exactly what I wanted to do. And if I'm totally honest, my cousin came to Goldsmiths and did an MA in politics. So that kind of knowledge, also having someone close to me that had studied there and had great things to say about the university and as an institution, but also the course and the people that you're going to surround yourself with. I had that firsthand recommendation from someone that I trusted. So that made all the difference for me. When I applied to study at Goldsmiths, I didn't apply to any other unis or any other course. I read the course, the summary of BA education, educational studies at Goldsmiths, and I applied for it, and I got accepted. I was, because I had already studied up into a certain level, I was given an unconditional offer, which was couldn't believe it. I've never been that person throughout my educational career up until then. Sailing through education as a child and then into my adolescence, I was never one to be given an unconditional offer to anything. So I thought, actually, no, this is a bit different. I'm starting on a new journey with in higher education, something that I was unfamiliar with in formal education as a child growing up, and as a teenager. So going back to your questions, what drove me to, or what inspired me to kind of apply and study at Goldsmiths? Honestly, that kind of touch point on my cousin and the recommendation of there, but then reading the course, what the course offered, every single module that I was reading through, it kind of led me on to a talking point in my own brain, and I thought, oh yeah, I could relate that to this, or I could relate that to that. It was a bit of a shot in the dark from me, but it was the best decision. I can't imagine that I could have gone to another university and had done a different course. It was green light, thumbs up from me.
Mm-hmm. Sounds amazing, and must have been so motivating for you to get that unconditional offer and then, just take a dive into the program and sort of just allow yourself to enjoy it. So you said you really enjoyed the modules and they helped you to see the world in a particular way. Can you talk about that more? Like, how did you see the relevance of the modules that you were taking?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, even before kind of having a taster session at the university and kind of going for my first lecture, getting enrolled and going to that, even just reading through the modules on the Goldsmiths website. Like I say, it was sparking off ideas in my head. I think that's something about the course. I was able to, it was something that I thought I could argue really well. I would always have something to say, and I would always have something to speak up in lectures, in seminars, because I felt so passionately about it. And that's ultimately what gets you through the 3 years of a university degree, is knowing that it's, regardless of the coursework or the exam you need to do, or the actual practical stuff, it's always going to be something that you can talk about for hours, and like I say, argue or discuss in a academic setting. It was pairing those two areas that really got me going. It's the way that I think it's quite easy to think of someone that studies and is an educationalist, to think of them as just a teacher. Whereas this course is not just about becoming a teacher. It's about viewing what education is. So how education is used as maybe a political or a social tool for a select type of means. I found that fascinating, and I still find it fascinating, hence why I still work in education. It's one of our big institutions, not just in the UK, but across the world, and it's what shapes our populations. It shapes our lives. It shapes our childhoods into the people we are, and that's what fascinated me as well. I've always, throughout school, I always gravitated towards the arts. So art lessons is where I kind of was. I was most happy in anything design, creative led. That was where I wanted to be. And also that aspect of looking at maybe why I saw myself in those situations, why that was the area that I flourished, and other students maybe flourished better at more, as they say, academic subjects. That fascinated me in a way that led to me. And then I was just using my own experience of education in all of the pieces of work that I was submitting, whether that be a coursework or in our first year we submitted a film. It was, yeah, like I say, it's the passion for the subject gets you through the more pieces of work that maybe you've got a couple of thousand words to write, but before you know it, it's done and it's submitted because you've sat there and you were so excited about what the subject matter is. And that can apply to anyone for any subject. It just so happened for me it was education. Arguing about education. It's got me to where I am.
Super. Well, I really enjoyed hearing, how you appreciated obtaining a different perspective on education, and that's exactly what we do. In our degree, so we take this sociological approach to education, and we try to get our students to see education as something more than just learning, more than just assessment, more than just teaching, but it's, that, as you said, this system within a political system or a larger social system, and it operates in specific ways for specific reasons. And I think just getting a taste of what education is and does in society is so eye-opening, because we all go through education, right? We all go through these schools, and we don't really understand what we're experiencing at the moment when we're experiencing school, and then to be able to take a step back and study this schooling system and essentially our history through the schooling system is definitely, I think, something that leads to the passion that you were sort of referencing.
Yeah.
So So that's great that you really enjoyed, the program, the modules were really inspiring and the content was really relevant for your critical understanding of the world. Tell me a bit about your experiences with the tutors. How did you, what did you like about their teaching style? What did you like about the way classroom or the lectures unfolded?
Yeah, absolutely. I commuted into university, so I had a bit of a buffer from my outside life, and then I'd get on the tube and I get to university, and that time on the tube, um, I would do my reading for the lecture that we were going to, which was quite good. So I had no excuse not to do my reading before the lecture, because I had that kind of that buffer zone to sit there, and make sure that I understood what we were going into with the lecture. Um, it was, but to answer your question, to read an academic text, and you can kind of pinpoint areas that interest you, and then you go into a room full of like-minded people, and there's someone, your lecturer is there, and they just bring that academic work to life, and they use it in reference to conversations and everyday society, really, using it in as an example of this, or just bringing the what's in a textbook, bringing that out to real world context. And again, like I said, the way it would be a lecture for an hour, and I could sit there for 4 more hours and just listen and just digest, because you could hear in the lecturers how they spoke about their subject matter. They were the experts on their subject, and if you had a question, they knew the answer to it, and they know the answer to it. They still do. It's But also to be personable. All of my lecturers had, maybe, I don't know if they'd still remember my name, but they might remember my face, and might remember a conversation we might have had. It wasn't just turning up to a lecture, sitting in the back of the room, being spoken at for an hour, and then running out and maybe not seeing them until the end of term, when I had to hand in my assignments. Bringing the lectures then into the seminars that would happen afterwards, you would have to form a relationship with your lecturers, and that was just a breeze and so easy, because essentially going through education as well, as we'll talk about in but is spoken about in the degree, you kind of see teachers as maybe on a bit of a pedestal, and then you go to university and you realize that actually everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's there because they want to learn and they want to understand the world, and we're all kind of on our own personal missions to figure out what exactly it is and where we see ourselves in society now and in society in the future. So yeah, the people I met only just inspired me as my lecturers, and made it easier for me as well. Just brought all of the resources and the context to life in a way that wouldn't be possible without them.
I'm really glad to hear that, and you're absolutely right that that is a bit of the way learning happens in the BA program. There's the lecture, and then there's opportunity for students to engage with the lecture material immediately with other classmates through conversation and other sorts of activities, as way of consolidating what was learned, but at the same time making sure that students get opportunity to engage with the material with others in the classroom, and students are not just sort of reading these papers at home in their room without these opportunities for exchange. So I'm glad you appreciated what we tried to do in the program. So now I'm really interested in hearing about the social opportunities perhaps that were offered through the department, um, opportunities that allowed you to make friends, that became sort of important resources for helping you learn. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I suppose what kind of springs to mind first of all is in first year there was a lot of group work, so you kind of thrust into environments where you had to make friends. I had to make friends with my classmates, and we had to work together to produce the work and get the grade. But then alongside that, we had a few trips. So in some of the modules, I remember going to the South Bank Centre and visiting loads of different areas with my lecturers, but then also with my classmates. So that kind of social side. One thing that kind of is the yeah what gets me so excited about talking about my time at university. Actually, in third year, I studied abroad, and I studied
Mm,
in Fujian University in China, and I
amazing.
taught English out there to first year university students, so kind of
Okay.
roughly 17-year-olds. But I was in my final year. And when you talk about that social side, that was something that I, I get in conversations like with my friends now and my family. It's like, oh, they say jokingly, oh, did you go to China? You never talk about it.
Uh-huh.
And I have because it just comes up all the time. But this social side of that trip,
Uh-huh.
mainly how it kind of made me into the person I am today, put me out my comfort zone, uh,
Mhm.
thrust me into social situations that I never would have seen myself in. And even today, I look back on that experience and I think, well, Goldsmiths sent me to teach in China. Um,
Mhm.
I can do anything if I thought that was
Sure.
hard, and I got through it.
Mhm.
Um,
You got through it.
but yeah, the in terms of the social aspect of that, opening up opportunities to students, uh, which kind of align with your studies and align with where you want to get to once you graduate, but like I say, in a social format. um, yeah, just also the New Cross as well as a campus is one of the it's fairly small campus, and for a university in London to have all their buildings kind of close by and kind of have a hub of activity and creativity in the southeast of London you're never going to be short of social activities there, really, are you?
Hmm. Definitely, definitely. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you had that amazing study abroad experience and that it really shaped who you are today because of it. And that's exactly what we want to hear. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and it's probably the question that everybody wants to ask, alumni. Tell me about your career trajectory. What happened after graduation? What did you decide to do? And how did you get there? And did your degree at Goldsmiths sort of help you get there? Or how did it help you get there if it wasn't, the direct sort of link to your career?
Definitely. So I graduated in 2020, and so that was June, coming to the end of my studies in June 2020. The
Oh, that
the
was
country,
COVID, wasn't it?
yeah, the
Right?
country the
Okay.
country was in lockdown.
Okay.
Everyone was on furlough, and nowhere was
Mhm.
hiring for a job.
Okay.
Once I loved my course and I loved studying and learning so much that I was planning to do a master's degree to carry on that trajectory of learning. But I applied for a role with UCL in their
Mhm.
medical school as a,
Okay.
a placement coordinator. And I remember applying for it thinking, they no. I mean, luckily, unluckily, I don't know how I want to put this to make it sound the best, but if there was a global pandemic, there was one place that was hiring, and that was medical education for amazing medical students who were working on the front line as
Yeah. Yeah.
students. Um, they needed people to support them, and they needed people to help them and to kind of coordinate their programs. So I was extremely lucky even though it was unlucky circumstances, it was very lucky. I see it as lucky for me that I applied for the job and got a full-time job straight out of education in higher education. So it directly related to my studies. So if I wasn't going to go and study a master's degree, then I was going to go and work in higher education and still be around learners and people experiencing everything that university and higher education is. So I worked with them for just shy of 2 years, and it was crazy, amazing, and brilliant. And my job basically entailed looking after medical students that were on site placements in medical settings, so in hospitals and GP surgeries and all sorts. So then from there, I applied. I was doing a lot of stuff with outreach work for students who were looking to maybe go into the medical field. And so we put on events for kind of work experience events. So that led me on to, I'll just jump backwards. So while I was at university, I worked, I want to say part-time, but I did pretty much near enough close to a full-time job alongside alongside studying. But that's only because it was in the sports industry. So I was working for a football club when I was studying at university, and with their traditional kind of Saturday match day, maybe an evening during the week. That meant that I worked there quite a lot outside of my studies. So I worked for a football club when I was studying. I've had a team that I've followed, and it's always something that's kind of followed me through my whole life. There's always been I've always watched and been around football. I've never been a sportswoman at all, but I've always enjoyed the kind of entertainment side of what sports can offer as a kind of a leisure activity, really. So then I applied for a role with my current organisation now, so the University Campus of Football Business, which is a university based in London, and we offer courses in anything surrounding kind of sports and football-based degrees. So again, coming from my study of my course, and then coming to a new institution that's looking to kind of also, I was saying to you before, I mean, how Goldsmiths was such a long-standing, full of a revolutionary, but also it's one of the oldest universities in London. And now I'm doing something totally different. I'm working for a university that's not even 20 years old. So my role now sees me, I'm in the international events team. So that's also something that is directly translated from my time in Goldsmiths, with my study abroad and the appreciation of education, not just in the UK, but across the globe. My role sees me run events I'm flying out to Miami in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
I've been there already 2 times this year. Got Toronto, flying out to Toronto. So I'm extremely lucky. My job sees me travel across the world, and that I wouldn't be doing it unless I'd studied what I'd studied.
Sure. Wow, sounds so fascinating to hear your story and get a sense of how different students go through the program, what they take from it, what they become afterwards. I think it's fabulous. And I think your account is really important for, our prospective students to hear, because they'll get a sense of their own possibilities with this program. So thank you for sharing all of your reflections today. Thank you for sharing, for giving us your time and for being here tonight with us. I think your story is really invaluable, and I hope our students will, benefit from listening to it.
No, thank you very much for having me. If anyone has any questions for me or wants to reach out,
Okay.
I'm sure Amina, you can pass my details on to anyone that's interested in learning a bit more about the experience at Goldsmiths from a student perspective. So
super. I'll pass that along then to anyone who asks. But thank you so much for being willing to share your content like that as well.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Let me actually stop the recording.
Thank you.